is aimed at clarifying some bias or some stereotype as regards human behavior, the way people behave. No one is bad in himself as regards the way people behave, as regards character traits, the way they act to things, okay? There are different types of character traits, which I'm not going to explain in this video. But we must bear in mind that these character traits are built in such a way that they do help every individual to achieve two functions. This function is the function of survival in a given environment. Every display or show of character trait is a tendency to survive in a particular environment. And so, these functions come in two phases. The first phase is the function of defense. Defense of oneself in a given environment. So, one of the ways these traits show themselves is in defense, the defense of oneself in a given environment. Another way in which it shows itself is in adaptation. Apart from defending, it adapts or compromises in order to survive in a particular environment. This one is weaker. The one of defense is a stronger expression of the threats, while that of adaptation or compromise is a weaker expression to adapt to an environment. So these two functions come into play in a given threat, in one's threat, and so express themselves at different times and at different reactions with regard to the stimuli that presents itself to one. So no one is bad in himself. Whenever one reacts or acts in a particular way, there is always something that necessitated that. And so the best way to assess or evaluate oneself, or the best way to evaluate or assess others, is to bear this in mind. And then understand that behind every reaction or action, there are two stimuli. There are two things that push them or fan them into flame. The first one is situational, while the second one is conditional. What do I mean by this? At every given point in time in which one acts or reacts, there is always a situation before that person to which the person is reacting to. So, human reactions are always situational with regard to what presents itself at a given time in which one reacts or acts. The second one is conditional. Every act is also conditioned by some past events, maybe experiences in the past or certain dispositions in the past that has conditioned or has affected one to react in this way in the present. So, these situational and conditional aspects of human behavior should be understood and put into practice whenever we assess or evaluate the action of oneself, and should also help us to tempt ourselves and evaluate our own actions, the way we behave and react to things. So, there are different grades of these expressions. The grades of these expressions, the ability to control, ability to tempt oneself, vary and differ from person to person. It is conditioned and affected by different things, okay? It varies and depends on persons, temperaments, learning processes, different stimuli and backgrounds, how a person is raised, and ability at the moment to have different experiences, having come out from these experiences, ability to handle these experiences, and ability to call oneself to order when faced with these realities. So, the best way is to tempt oneself, help oneself, and asking yourself before you react, what is pushing me into this reaction? Is it situational or conditional? And put it into place in order to understand how best to react, so that you will not be affected by a present stimuli which you can control, or by something which is bringing you to act in this way from the past. When we put these into order, it will help us understand ourselves better and to understand others better in every given situation. Thank you.